back to a movie that made you cry, or laugh so hard you almost couldn't breathe. Now, try to remember one line of dialogue from that scene. Chances are, it just appeared in your mind, clear and complete, even if you haven't thought about that film in years. Now, try to remember a grammar rule you studied last week, something about the past perfect or modal verbs, something you read carefully, maybe even wrote down. Harder, right? Maybe even impossible. Both went into the same brain, so why does one stay forever, word for word, while the other slips away in days? The answer to that question is one of the most useful things you'll ever learn about how to study English, and once you understand it, you'll never study the same way again. My name's Emma, and this is Train Your English Brain. I want to tell you about a student named Hana, because her experience explains this better than any textbook ever could. Hana studied English diligently, flashcards every morning, grammar exercises every evening. She was disciplined in a way I genuinely admired, but she kept telling me the same frustrated thing. Emma, I study so much and nothing seems to stay. One day, almost by accident, she watched an English drama about a character whose father was dying. She told me afterward, tears still in her eyes, that she had cried through the whole final episode. And then she said something that surprised her own self. Emma, I remember almost every important line from that episode. I didn't even try to memorize them. They're just there. She had spent hours deliberately trying to memorize flashcards with almost nothing to show for it days later. Yet a single emotional evening had planted dozens of phrases permanently into her memory without any conscious effort at all. Here is what was actually happening inside Hana's brain, and it has a real biological explanation. When you experience something emotionally significant, fear, sadness, joy, even strong embarrassment, your brain releases chemicals, including adrenaline and cortisol, that act almost like a stamp of importance on whatever is happening in that moment. Your brain is essentially being told, pay extra attention here. This matters. Don't let this one slip away. This isn't poetic exaggeration. There's a part of your brain called the amygdala, which plays a central role in processing emotion, and it has direct, well-documented connections to your hippocampus, the part responsible for forming long-term memories. When the amygdala activates strongly, it essentially boosts the memory formation process happening right alongside it. Emotional moments don't just feel more memorable, they are, neurologically, more memorable, almost automatically. This is exactly why Hana remembered dialogue from a tearful drama episode without trying, while flashcard sessions, calm, repetitive, emotionally flat, left almost nothing behind despite real effort. The flashcards had information. The drama had information wrapped in genuine feeling. Only one of those left a lasting trace. I want to be clear about something here, because this isn't simply an argument for watching sad television shows all day. The emotional intensity itself isn't really the point. What matters is that emotion creates a kind of memory glue, attaching whatever language surrounds that feeling far more firmly than language presented in a neutral, emotionless way. This explains why so many learners can recite entire song lyrics, remember exact lines from a favorite character, or perfectly recall an embarrassing mistake they made years ago, all without ever consciously trying to memorize any of it. It also explains something frustrating that almost every learner experiences: why studying alone, quietly, with flashcards or vocabulary lists often feels so unproductive compared to how much you absorb from an emotionally engaging show, conversation, or even an argument. It's not that quiet study is worthless, it's that it's missing the exact ingredient that makes information stick most powerfully. So, how do you actually use this knowledge deliberately, instead of just hoping for emotional moments to randomly happen? The first thing is to choose content that genuinely moves you, not content that simply seems educational or appropriate for your level. A show that makes you laugh, a song that makes you feel something, a story that genuinely interests you. These create far more lasting language memory than perfectly leveled but emotionally flat material ever will, even if the vocabulary is slightly harder than what you'd normally choose. The second thing is to connect new vocabulary to your own emotional experiences whenever possible, rather than learning words in neutral isolation. Instead of memorizing the word devastated with a plain definition, think of an actual moment in your life when you felt devastated and attach the word directly to that real memory. This deliberately recreates the same emotional glue that made Hana's drama dialogue so memorable, except now you're applying it intentionally to whatever vocabulary you actually need. The third thing is to pay close attention to moments when you notice yourself feeling something strongly while engaging with English content, and treat those moments as valuable, not as distractions from real studying. If a sentence makes you laugh or a line genuinely moves you, that emotional reaction is your brain quietly telling you this one is going to stay. Let it stay. Don't rush past it to get back to your structured lesson. I want to come back to Hana's story because what she did afterward changed her entire approach to studying. She stopped relying primarily on flashcards and started deliberately seeking out English content that actually moved her emotionally. Dramas, music, personal stories from real people, things she would have watched anyway if she weren't learning English from them. A few months later, she told me something I still remember clearly. She said, "Emma, I'm studying less in the traditional sense, but I'm remembering so much more. I think I was fighting against my own brain this whole time without realizing it." She wasn't studying less effectively, she was finally working with the exact mechanism her brain naturally uses to decide what's worth remembering, instead of constantly trying to force flat, emotionless information into permanent memory through repetition alone. I want you to try something today. Choose one piece of English content, just one, that you suspect might genuinely move you. Not the most educational option, not the one at exactly your level. The one that interests you, makes you curious, maybe even makes you feel something while you watch or listen to it. Pay attention to what happens emotionally while you engage with it, and notice, days later, how much of that content stays with you compared to your usual structured study session. Your brain was never broken when flashcards failed to stick. It was simply waiting for something worth feeling, not just something worth knowing. Go find that something today. My name's Emma. I will see you in the next episode.